Alright, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is A Time Traveler from 2749 reveals prophecies that are about to come true. Really? Guys, we're here. Let's check it out.
We turned on the TV. At this point, we didn't know that anything was wrong or anything was any different than the era we had come from. Except, of course, in 1943, we didn't have large screen color TV. This happened to be a wall-mounted unit, smaller size but color.
Time traveling is a phenomenon that has excited scientists since the beginning. And while they understand the infinite possibilities of moving through a wormhole, they don't have the ability to access one physically.
Right.
But what if we told you that someone has already achieved the impossible? What if we said someone managed to travel back and forth in the timeline and witness the future? Meet Al Bielek, the man who traveled through space and time, unlocking the mysteries of time travel that others have only dreamed of.
Bielek.
When Bielek returned home from the future, he described a very different world and revealed shocking prophecies. And believe it or not, it's time for his predictions to come true. Stay with us as we explore the unbelievable life of Al Bielek and his time-traveling experiences and learn what he saw in our future.
All right, so really quickly, before we even go forward, listen, I like the concept of time travel. I think everyone does. Science fiction has told us that it's amazing. I'm just not sure, specifically, that we actually can do it. I think that if we had the capability to do it, it would probably just be like a viewer, right? Like we could view the past. Not so much the future, but the past, in fact, would make a whole lot of sense. And that's kind of where I lie in this topic here, right? And I definitely don't think that we can actually send physical matter back or forward through the timelines, right? I mean, I think it can be ripped apart through the event horizon, through the accretion disk of the black hole, which would probably be the requirement to actually time travel. I don't think we're going to make it, right? But let's continue.
According to popular legend, in 1943, the U.S. Navy undertook secret experiments based out of the port of Philadelphia. These experiments aimed to test Einstein's unified field theory and attempt to make a naval ship invisible. While most conspiracy theorists debate the existence of the Philadelphia experiment, an alleged survivor, Al Bielek, maintained that the Navy had another purpose altogether. They were only interested in time travel. In 1990, Bielek claimed that he spent time in separate periods of the future only to return to the present and tell his story. Bielek was born in 1927 to an ordinary yet wholesome family. He was a peculiar child by his own words, and his first memory came at a Christmas party when he was just 9 months old. He recalled understanding what the adults in the room were talking about, an astonishing feat for an infant. Wouldn't you agree? As he grew older, his knowledge of the world increased to the extent that he was called a walking encyclopedia among his classmates. At the age of 16, Bielek joined the Navy to help fight the Nazis and was just a lowly naval officer.
Hey. The mustache man and his people. You say that. YouTube is a little weird these days with words.
Bielek joined the Navy to help fight the Nazis and was just a lowly naval officer serving aboard the USS Eldridge in 1943.
Okay.
However, he had no idea the unusual fate that awaited him aboard this ship. The Eldridge was supposedly harboring the Philadelphia experiment. One day, August 13th, 1943 to be exact, Bielek and his brother witnessed an odd happening on the ship. Scared of what was unfolding in front of their eyes, the two jumped from the ship but never touched the water. Instead, they landed in the year 2137. When they jumped overboard, they expected to hit the water in the bay and swim ashore, but they kept falling for a long time without ever hitting the water. The two had no idea what was happening and where they were headed. The next thing Bielek remembered was that he was lying in a hospital bed with his brother, with no recollection of how he got there.
Guys, this story sounds super familiar.
In the beginning, he didn't feel anything unusual. The two just assumed that the Navy brought them into a regular hospital in their own timeline. The first sign that something was wrong was that the room had a wall-mounted color TV, which was surprising since the invention of color TV hadn't been made in 1943. The hospital staff informed Bielek that they were being treated for severe radiation burns, which was again shocking since they hadn't experienced anything of the sort jumping off the Eldridge. Matters got even more confusing when the nurses revealed the burns weren't caused by a nuclear attack, which was a possibility since they were in the middle of a war. In fact, the burns resulted from radiation found in deep space. Slowly, Bielik's new reality dawned on him. He was no longer in 1943, but had traveled through time to the future, 2137 to be exact. The world around him had changed entirely, and very few cities had survived around the globe. There were no national borders or government either. When Bielik looked at the world map, he was shocked to find that cities that were brimming with life and technology in his time had undergone a complete makeover, and it wasn't a good one. For example, a large part of California was now underwater, stretching to the San Andreas fault line, and there was not much left of Los Angeles as a functioning city.
I mean, that's a guarantee. That's going to happen anyway. Same thing with Miami, guys. Like, the safest place in the United States of America to probably be, most likely, is Buffalo, New York. That's it. That's the place that's going to most likely exist past all of the natural disasters based off of a lot of things that are coming in on the East and West Coast, guys. The Midwest should be okay, decent, right? They still most likely will still be getting all these crazy tornadoes based off of the fact that they're basically sandwiched between two gigantic mountain ranges, the Appalachia and the Rocky Mountains, right? So they create that weird atmospheric thing that happens there, right? Crazy amounts of tornadoes. So Buffalo, New York is probably going to be where you need to be in the next 100 years. But all right, let's get it.
Many other significant cities like Chicago, New Orleans, and San Diego had disappeared from the U.S. map, and the Great Lakes had become one massive body of water following an unexpected rise in water levels. Even the Mississippi River was much wider, almost 30 miles wide at its narrowest point.
Whoa.
But the U.S. wasn't the only place that had changed. England was almost gone in Europe, and only a few Scottish Highlands and parts of Ireland remained. Interestingly, most of Europe had succumbed to rising water levels, with many regions disappearing entirely underwater. Bielik never left the hospital. Whatever he saw of the world was through the TV in his room, world maps, and the hospital staff. Through a hospital technician, Bielik found out that the world's population had plummeted to just 300 million after a brutal nuclear World War III killed millions of people. However,
that's plausible, bro.
the war wasn't the only culprit for human deaths.
Okay.
Far more people were wiped out due to the climatic changes on Earth. Bielik made another revelation, the timeline of which is much closer to us than the others he mentioned. He said that most of the world's governments crumbled away by the year 2025, but seeing that we're only 2 years away from this prophecy, the chances of it materializing look slim. However, the international political climate is highly volatile, and we never know what might happen in the next, say, 6 months. Traveling...
Yeah, nothing to that level, to be honest. I don't think so, right? I mean, I get it. We all don't... Unfortunately, we have issues with each other across the globe. We have issues with each other in the United States of America for some odd reason, right? I guess we sometimes forget that we're all Americans, right? I mean, politics first, right? But we forget this. We tend to forget this. I don't think that we could all the governments would shut down within the next year, guys. I don't think that's even plausible, guys.
Traveling to the year 2137 was Bielik's first journey into the unknown, but he never expected that he would travel again, and that, too, even farther into the future. One day, as Bielik was walking around the hospital grounds, he was mysteriously transported to around the year 2750, almost 800 years ahead of his time. By this point, the world had drastically changed. Regular cities were replaced by floating ones, which meant humans had mastered anti-gravity techniques. There were no countries, but people resided in a series of self-governing city-states without any elected or appointed government. The cities didn't need militaries, as technology made conflict almost impossible. Instead of governments, each city was run by an intelligent computer with synthetic intelligence that worked telepathically. There were still certain rules that people were expected to follow.
telepathically, meaning that we would have probably implanted some type of technology into our actual bodies, most likely at birth. So we were born with this. We grew with this piece of technology. Most likely is how that would have to work. I know Elon Musk is working on something, but it almost doesn't make any sense, right? Like, how are you going to introduce some type of chip to an adult's brain? No, it has to be introduced to a kid's brain, bro. Right? A kid's brain, not the adult's brain.
For example, they were not allowed to leave specific zones. If they did, the governing computer system could terminate offending individuals immediately. Bielik claimed that he spoke to the computer system to understand better how such a governance arrangement came to be. He was told that the project started around the year 2600. This time around, Bielik stayed in the timeline for 2 years before being sent back to 2137 to pick up his brother. Although he successfully reached his brother, the journey back home wasn't as straightforward. Instead of landing back in 1943, he appeared in 1983 on August 12th, just after midnight. There, he claimed to meet Dr. John von Neumann, the Hungarian-American mathematician, who coincidentally died around 1957. We know what you're thinking. How did Bielik meet someone who had already died a quarter of a century earlier? The only possible answer is that maybe he, too, was a time traveler. Newman convinced the two brothers to return to their original time and stop the Philadelphia experiment from
But how did they return to the time?
ever happening. The two men agreed, went back, and got the job done.
That simple? Just that simple.
After serving time in the Navy, Bielik was recruited by military contractors for the Montauk Project. During the same time, he found that the U.S. military was actively involved in adapting alien technology and forwarding research on psychic operations for warfare and time travel. He even claimed that he was able to travel to Mars on several occasions, as well as a research station in the year 100,000 BC. Despite his time-traveling escapades, everything was good, but his life took a sad turn when he came out and revealed his stories to the public. The U.S. government disowned him and dismissed his stories as make-believe.
That was mandatory. All right. How are you jumping in time like that? No explanation. I haven't heard a single explanation on how he decides at any time and moment when to go back or forward in time.
And Bielik was labeled a conspiracy theorist. Do you believe Bielik's time-traveling stories?
No. So here's the thing. I love talking about the concept of this, right? I mean, it's fun to theorize. One thing that stands out as interesting is he says he was able to speak to some type of computer, and they were able to have some type of conversation. But here's the kicker here. Go back 150 years from right now. Well, how about this? No. 800 years? Let's not even do that. That's craziness. Go back 200 years in whatever language you speak and try to communicate with someone that speaks your language. 800 years, bro? Forward? All the words are going to mean different things. They're going to be different sounds being made, bro. Right? All the worlds, all the governments ended, so that means most likely the people that were still alive from all of these random civilizations and random languages came together to create a brand new language, most likely, right? And all of a sudden, the computer that was coded for them knows how to speak to you? Listen, bro, hold on. All right? We have to talk about that. I like the story. I like theorizing about it. But something's fishy. Okay. But all right, listen. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.